So Dennis, I said you have probably bought, wholesaled 400 to 500 houses in your career. Is that about right, or is it more than that even, you think?
I think it's probably more than that.
How much do you think it is?
50 a year for 7 years.
So that's 350.
Yeah.
So 400 to 500 was, I think, a good guess.
I'm good at math.
You're good at
and humble.
Hungry and humble. No, that Dennis doesn't do the max allowable offer. We just say go buy it, and he does it. No, just kidding. So Dennis has been a wholesaler for 7 or 8 years now. He has done, the networking side, and he's built his network. We've given him paid marketing leads. He's gone. So you're going to be able to touch on both sides of it. So what we're going to do today, DJ, is we're just going to try to give advice to newer investors that want to go find deals and want to turn up their deal flow. So why don't you talk a little bit about kind of how you got into real estate and your background of how you started to get a ton of deal flow your way, because you buy more networking houses than anybody.
Yeah. So, well, I had to find a way to buy houses. So you're talking about where I started? Or?
Yeah, so you're kind of a little background on your real estate journey.
Yeah, so I started in real estate because I was doing rehabs and repairs on houses. So I saw that everybody I was doing work for was making all the money and I was doing all the work.
How much were you getting paid per hour to do that?
When I quit doing it, I was charging $40 an hour.
That's not bad.
No,
Nice.
It wasn't bad. It was just if you weren't working, you weren't making money.
Yep.
So it was way better than my hourly. I quit my hourly job to go do that, and then I quit that to start real estate. So I actually met a guy from here at a house, and I said, what the heck is this wholesaling thing that all these investors are at? And he explained it to me, and then I hired him to be my coach. And
CB.
Yeah. Corey Boyles does all our photos now. So
Shout out Corey Boyle. So what do you say, a quick left as we get going, because what do you say to people that say, wholesalers or real estate investors are hurting the housing market? What's your answer to that when people say that? Because I get that all the time. I know my answer. I'm interested in what your answer is.
I think it's the exact opposite, because I can show you dozens of houses where we've sold the highest price on the street after we rehab the house. Somebody has to buy them. Somebody has to fix them. If you sell a house that needs $30,000 repairs to a homeowner on the exterior of the house, that house is going to continue to look like crap because no homeowner is going to put that $30,000 in.
Well, that's exactly what I say. So I tell people it's a small percentage of houses, but it's a big number of these distressed houses that if a wholesaler or a real estate investor doesn't buy, it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And then all the other houses around it, our value is going to go down. And homeowners, a lot of them struggle for a 20% down payment.
Right.
They don't have 50 grand. They don't have the money to rehab it. They don't have the knowledge to rehab it. They don't have the connections. They don't have the experience, because a bank's not going to fund a fixer-upper.
Right.
That's why you have hard money and private money. So we are, real estate investors are literally adding houses to the needed supply and making every house in the area. It's just a lack of information, is my opinion, when people they think it's like bad. It's literally a service that's needed.
Yeah. There's actually some municipalities around here that made it rules, occupancy inspections, and people complained about them. But wholesalers are the ones that came in, bought the houses, and sold them to the landlords that are looking for those houses. Those landlords brought up the values because everybody wanted those houses. And so those houses were looking nicer. All the values in the whole neighborhood are back up. And then they removed those laws for the rentals, the rental laws, because all of a sudden the neighborhood was nice enough to where they didn't need those rental laws in place. So
it proved that was just a proof of concept. Perfect. All right, Matthew, what do you got for him?
How do you overcome objection?
I love it.
You see a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's probably different every day, right?
I don't get emotional about it. That's the biggest one. So I got cussed out actually for the first time in
first time ever
in a couple of years.
What words
did
they use? Matt gets nervous when people cuss on the podcast. He doesn't like it for the brand.
You can let it rip one time.
I'm gonna leave the words that she said to me out, but I was at a house and the lady didn't like my number, even though we already went over the numbers on the phone. She agreed with my rehab numbers. She agreed with the value of the house. Actually, her value was lower than mine. But when I went to give her that offer, she decided to drop some F-bombs and run me out. So we were standing in the front of the house on the front yard, and I was able to calm her down just by going back to what her purpose was of calling me in the first place. I mean, we've already talked about where our numbers are going to be and how we come up with our numbers, that 75% of ARV minus cost of repairs. So you take the facts back to the person whenever they have objections with you. I mean, if you are talking to somebody that has to sell their house because her son got shot across the street, that was the reason why she needed to sell the house. She was no longer wanting to be in the neighborhood. So I was like,
understandable.
well, yeah. So you're leaving. You're going to sell. Your house needs a full rehab. You know that. Who are you going to sell it to if you don't sell it to me or somebody like me?
Yeah.
Did you end up buying that? Or you don't know yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So
Doors open.
doors open.
it's
So
not a no, even though she cussed me out.
that's all right. That's all right. I cuss you out sometimes. We've been there. So no, I think that's important to note is when you're dealing with these, homeowners. So this is if we're going direct to seller marketing and dealing directly with the homeowner or a real estate agent, probably. Talk a little bit about, because Dennis, something that I know that you do that not everybody does, and I think it's a good thing, is you show them the numbers. You're not hiding behind anything. You show them the max allowable offer formula. Most of these people are okay with us making a little bit of profit. And of course, you can fluff this or that and make it close. So talk about how you go over the numbers, and you lay it all out there for me. Like, here's where I'm at. Here's how I got to this number. What do you think? Right?
Yeah. So I like a couple different things with that. I like asking the person. A lot of people don't want to know the number that they're asking. You can take advice from whoever, but I like asking where you want to be at. That's just giving me a mindset of where you're at. It doesn't affect what my offer is going to be. It's just seeing where you're at up front, so I can be up front with you. Like, you're way out from where I need to be. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste mine. Kind of forgot which direction I was going with that.
You're good. You show them the numbers and you explain to them, hey,
so
your house, do you say like, hey, what do you think your house is worth? Do you help them plug into the formula?
So I go to them with ask them the numbers up front. Then I go over where I need to be after talking to them about all their other issues, situations, whatever it is. This is the last part of being in the house, is that number talk. I used to sit down with a piece of paper and write out the rehab in front of them.
You don't do that anymore?
I did it a couple weeks ago, actually, with a lady. Actually, last week I bought a house, Thoroughbred. That was one that I went over the numbers with her. And if you sit down and you write down a number, if I ask you how much it costs to replace your kitchen, you're not going to say $13,000. It's going to cost us $13,000 to $16,000 to put a brand new kitchen in. So most of the time people will say like 25, 30. Every once in a while you have somebody that says $5,000 and you just call them out on it. So if you go down the numbers, if you ask them, have you heard of what the house they're selling in your neighborhood for? Or, hey, did you see that house down the street that sold for $59,000? It's like, if you point out those things and then ask them their information, you can get on the same page with numbers a lot easier, because you can't argue it, or they can't argue the facts.
Well, I feel like you're building trust with them as well. They're like, it's 20 grand to do this kitchen. You're like, actually, no, it's more like 15 grand. They're like, oh, well, he's being honest. He's not just trying to screw me over and maximize every part of it. And that way you can call them out on something that they, that they are potentially off on a little bit, because you built that trust with them.
Right.
That's part of the genius of it, I think.
And I also like 80% over the 75%,
Okay.
Not running my numbers at it, but using 80% instead of 75%, which if I go into a house and there's 3 comps, one sold at 300, one sold at 325, and one sold at 350, and they're all the same houses, I know that we can get to that 350 mark, but I'm going to run my numbers at that 325 mark, because it's an average, a conservative number. So at that point, I can say we're at 80% minus the cost of repairs, because it's going to make up that difference. If that makes any sense.
And that's what, when we walk through, that's what I say, be conservative on the front end. If you think it could potentially be worth this, it's not a guarantee. The market could shift a little bit, so just go with a little bit less, which is exactly what you said. If it might be 350, there's no guarantee, so go 330, 3 whatever it is. And then on the rehab budget, you just got to add a little bit, because we're taking the risk of taking the house down, and none of it is unknown. It's not a math problem. There's art, there's science in there as well.
Right. And I'll straight up ask, like, do you want me to make a profit here? Like, because if they're a dick and they don't want you to make any profit at all. Sorry, dude.
I like it.
I mean,
You see, it's different when you're on stage,
Yeah.
Matthew.
where there's not going to be anything we could do to help you. I mean, you're asking us for our services. You pay people for their services, and that's where we're going to be. I tell everybody, if we make 8 to 10% return on our investment, we're doing a great job. And so if we buy anywhere further than 80% or 75% is where we're really at, we take the risk of not even making 8% return on our money. And I can also show multiple examples of last year where I took major losses on houses that we bought as is. And there was one that we took a 50 grand loss because the basement was buckled and we didn't know about it because it was finished when we bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So those
There's
are the
risks.
risks. There's risks. So being able to explain those.
Yeah. Dennis, like what I'm hearing here is one, communication, but like on top of communication, it's transparency. Like you're real, you're authentic, you're helping people with situations, but you also support it with data, which is super cool. Obviously, like in your example, there was distress, there was a lost family member. How many of these situations where you leave without a contract, like how many follow-ups? Like I would think a lot of people sleep on the situation and realize, you know what, that is the best situation for me right now.
You got to leave it with them, even if it's not a deal at that time. You got to leave it with them as in, I look forward to working with you. So it's not even though you said no, I still look forward to helping you out in any way we can. And then you're following up with them. Our CRM tells us to follow up the next day. Depending on the situation, I'll follow up most 95% of the time the following day or even later on that afternoon with the text messages thanking them for letting me come into their house. But the ones that are like cold or they ran me off, like that lady that cussed me out, I'm not calling her the next day. And
Give her a little time to breathe.
Yeah, you gotta give her a little bit of time. Let her talk to another investor that I know for a fact that there's not another investor that came into that house because she was impossible to get a hold of. And then she was 40 minutes late for my appointment that she scheduled at 5 o'clock at night, by the way. That's 5:40. And I get home at 5 o'clock most nights, so that sucked. But,
and you got yelled at.
You got yelled at, but you leave it with them. I look forward to helping you out, even though she cussed you out. So
I think it's the biggest thing is providing solutions, because I remember that when I was, doing some acquisitions, and I learned pretty quickly, probably from people like you, that I've been in houses and seen people be like, oh, look at that. That's a crack in the drywall. There must be something going on in the basement a little bit. And, oh, yeah, those cabinets, they got to be ripped out. Like, they know that the house isn't in good shape. You need to connect with them. I did. I'm sure I don't even talk about the house.
I don't ever talk about the
You
house.
just talk about the person. You figure out the solution. And I ended up, and you probably do too, getting house buys where you're not always the top bid.
Yeah.
It's because you're figuring out, hey, do you want to live here for 2 weeks after we'll get a paperwork signed at closing, and you can live here for 2 weeks, then you have to be out, or do you want to come back after you rehab it because it was your childhood house? What do you really want? I'm going to give you the best offer I can. We're going to make a little bit of profit, nothing crazy, because if you show them that 8 to 10%, like, the people are okay with that. They just, if they don't know the numbers, they're assuming that you're screwing them and you're making 50% on your money, and that's never the case.
And honestly, that's why I started showing the numbers, because when I started doing this, I started on the dispo side, or I started on my own where I was just joint venturing. I was finding the deals and finding the buyers at the same time. So I wasn't taking anything down. The struggle there was when I switched was the fact that I was just giving these people an offer that I feel like when they got mad that they thought I was ripping them off, and that's not the person I want to be. So if you connect with the person, and my favorite thing is to get the person talking. I love when Sarah or Tammy, our ladies that answer the phone, say that this person won't talk or this person was rude or whatever, because when you get in the house, find something to connect with them on. Whatever it is on the walls.
Do you ever make up something to connect with them on?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I will 100% do that. But you just absolutely don't make a lie that they can find out.
There you go. don't say don't pretend
Jewish.
like you're a big cricket. Yeah, don't tell them you're Jewish when you're not, Dennis.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one that we've been through before with you.
Yes, but it truly happened. But you find a way to connect. You point out their reasonings for calling you, and then you go over the numbers with them. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong. If you're going to be able to buy the house, you'll be able to buy the house. As long as you're connected, you explain everything to them. What else is there?
Yeah.
So
you just kind of is it the right time? Are they ready? Are they going to call somebody else? What it is? But most of the time, the houses you walk into, I would assume, they eventually sell. Probably most likely to investor. Might not be ready now because they're pissed at all the offers they're getting. But within 6 months or a year, it's gonna sell.
Yeah.
We just gotta stay top of mind and hope that there's not somebody that's going to come way over. But a lot of the times you probably buy houses that you're that big, the highest bid, but probably not always. What percentage of houses would you say you offer the highest offer for their house, then you get it versus less?
So I would say it's about probably 10% that we don't offer the highest and we still get it. I mean, at the end of the day, most people are most concerned about the highest number. And a lot of the companies that we go up against have the same solutions as we do. We're going to close. There's not going to be any contingencies. We're to put down a bunch of earnest money. If we're going against the bigger companies in St. Louis, those aren't things that we can really use against them. So it has to be that highest number. That's where it comes down to. But when we're the company, like I bought a house because they saw us on a commercial, and they thought it gave us
credibility.
That's the word I was
They saw Louis on a commercial.
They said it was me, and
I mean, you guys,
this
Lucas,
is a lie
are both
that
bald.
I did. I never say no.
You're like,
people
yeah,
are
I'm
like,
on
"I saw
TV.
you
I'm
on
TV famous. You want my autograph?
Yeah, exactly. I never say I was the person on TV. I just never say I'm not.
Lie of omission, Dennis.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So Dennis, you've been through this incredible journey, working with Faster House. So what's the most profitable deal with the company or on your own that you've come across, and what's the story behind it? Like, how did you get the house?
Let's not talk about the most profitable one. Let's talk about one that my management wanted to kill, and I got in an argument with them, and we ended up making $100,000 on
Matthew?
it. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Let's talk about that. Not this Matthew, different Matthew.
No. So we had a deal that there weren't any comparable rehabs. So the house was smaller than the houses that were sold around it. It's a really unique area where none of the houses are the same. It's in a really highly sought after area, but we're like, what is it worth? And so I put it under contract, and we tried to shop it to other people. We didn't want to do the rehab, which I wanted to do the rehab. I always want to do the rehab for the company. And we couldn't get it sold. So the management was like, we're losing money on this. We're just going to go ahead and take a $10,000 loss. And we finally were able to convince them to put it on the MLS, and we ended up selling over asking price, and it was a $100,000 profit.
Tells you that tells you there's always usually a path of profitability if you're patient enough.
There is a path. You just have to. There's always a different exit strategy. So
Dennis said, "I'm dying on this hill today."
Mm-hmm. Like Drake said last night, which hill you want to die on? No, was that Drake?
That was Mike Kitko.
That was Mike Kitko. That's funny. Which hill do you want to die on? Yesterday was a little bit of a blur. So it just goes to show that, and that's a great point you made. Being able to dispo it is huge. So you're buying these properties. Most people listening probably want to own rentals to a certain degree at some point, but having those multiple exit strategies, shopping it in a Facebook group, listing it on the MLS gets in front of a ton of people, not just investors. Because I think whoever bought that was buying it for their kid maybe and going to redo it with them or something along those lines.
They live down the street in a larger house, and they want to stay in the same subdivision or neighborhood, and they're buying it, and they're just going to put the rehab into it. And it appraised out because it was contingent upon appraisal. So it appraised out with the rehab that they were going to do to it. So
nice.
I mean,
that's a good. So we turned a no deal to a $10,000 loss to a $100,000 profit.
That's exactly what happened.
Did that pay for your cruise?
It paid for a couple of those vacations I took.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, Dennis is one of those guys that every month is on a week-long vacation.
That's not true. Just
kidding.
I don't leave during the summer. It's too nice.
Too nice here, and there's too much money to be made here. So, you're known in the St. Louis area as one of the top wholesalers. You're with, Faster House. We're right up there with anybody else as far as top home buying company. As far
we
as
are the top
volume goes. No, we're the best, and also the top volume. I was trying to not be cocky, but yes, we are the biggest and the best in St. Louis. And you're the top guy. You're the top of the food chain. What are you known for?
Well, one. It is the biggest compliment is when I go into a house and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I was just here with Tom, and he said that you guys are a great company," or "Oh, Dennis," or like, oh, Dennis is here. We might as well not even come in. Like, those are the things.
Because they know the big dog.
That's what I like to make happen is scare other people off. So
quick story time. Tell them about the big dog in Florida.
Oh, it was terrible. So we're walking on the sidewalk.
We were in Jacksonville at a mastermind a couple weeks ago.
Jacksonville mastermind. We got there early. We had a bunch of time, and I don't know how we ended up with this idea, but we're like, hey, let's go get a haircut. So we walked to Sports Clip.
Dennis doesn't have that issue.
Never been in a barber chair.
It's all right. It's all right. So we're walking to the Sports Clip. Sam had too many Celsiuses that day, and he started going, because
I'm
he
a
started
dog.
barking like as loud as he possibly could. And this poor lady pumping gas was so startled. She turned around and I don't know what she thought of Sam or myself.
She got no dogs in town.
I don't know what to do with you, man.
I scared an old lady. It was an accident. Sorry, ma'am. I was just letting them know that I was around. So, Dennis, we are the best of the best. But what are you known for? Like, you are known for something, and you're known for a certain source of deal flow. So talk a little bit about your favorite deal flow source, because this is anybody can do it. He's going to give you little insights, but it's not even – you can know exactly how Dennis does it, but you have to consistently do it and build up the reputation that you have. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just the – so I work with real estate agents.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
That's what he wanted me to say.
That's true, though.
So my whole week is spent reaching out to agents, sitting down and having coffees, just really networking with them, networking with brokerages to get those agents to know who we are. Most agents aren't going to run across more than one deal a year, if that. And so it's really just spreading a wide net and staying in front of them. This morning, right before I came down here, I was just going through my phone and just texting agents that I've worked with in the past, and it builds. I have 400 something agents in my phone that I couldn't tell you who they all are, or even 3/4 of them, but they're agents that I've worked with in the past that have sent me something. So I just continuously follow up, and it produces houses.
How many houses would you say you buy a year from real estate agents?
I think last year we're in around the 35 mark.
Just for you?
Just for me.
Yeah. So,
and that's me. Don't tell my boss this, but I am not nearly as proactive as some people could be.
So he's basically saying, I have figured out a system that allows me to not have to grind 24/7 to still get a good deal flow. I think it's all right with that. So you've been working at that. So 35 houses real quick. That's 3 houses a month with $0 in marketing spent. Now, he has spent time networking and working with in the past, coffees, lunches, all that stuff. Yeah. But that's that gravy train we talked about. And I was telling Matt earlier, when I used to kind of deal with agents, I remembered specifically, especially some agents I just got to know. They knew Faster House, they know the brand. But you walk in the door, and that guard between you and the seller is gone, because the agent has a connection, and they say, hey, this is Dennis. Worked with him before. They work for a great company. They're closed. They're going to give you a great fair offer. We can discuss we should list it or go with them, but they're going to close. And so that barrier is gone, and that really allows you to connect with the seller on another level that may be helpful. So that's my favorite part, because you don't get that with wholesalers. You have to build that yourself. Agents is the only really way that you completely get their wall down right when you enter the door. It's really fun.
Agents and attorneys.
Yeah, attorneys is another one.
Attorneys is a huge one. But I would say that the hardest part about it is getting agents to understand the numbers. Like I looked at a house yesterday, and the agent said, I want them to sell for, I don't know why they want to sell to an investor, because I want them to sell for the highest amount. Well, the agent's supposed to do what's best for the seller, not for themselves. Mm-hmm. And she's just worried about commission at that point, and she flat out said it in that statement. But once the agent understands it, I literally have agents that call me and say, hey, I have this house. This is the number. I got a contract written up for you. Just come sign it. And I know that and they're usually, I don't know that there's been one time where I've been in that situation and didn't sign the contract, because
they do everything for you. You just built the relationship. We call it the gravy train. It's if you can get, and we're speaking a little in generalities, but I think you both would agree. If you can, it's going to take you 6 months or a year, but if you can get 5 good wholesalers and 5 good agents bringing you constant deal flow, that's a handful of houses a year for free. Now you're gonna have to talk to 80 agents to get or maybe 50 agents to get those 5 good ones that understand investing.
I would say it's probably a lot more than those 50, but
80.
I think that Matt is on our team. Another Matt. There's a lot of Matts.
I know you freaking
True. Popular.
basic bitches. Sorry, go.
He works with agents, and I think that his sphere that he works with is in the 200 and something range before he started buying.
Yeah, so just a big number, but yeah, good points. But it's going to take time and a lot of inefficiencies at first. But you get 5 good agents, 5 good wholesalers and agents that look for deals, and wholesalers that bring you deals first. You're going to get at first you're going to be at the bottom of the chain with wholesalers. You have to work your way up for the good ones,
and you'll be at the bottom of the chain for the real estate agents.
But once you work your way up.
Right.
I mean, literally, I tell people if you want to buy 10 houses or less a year, focus on networking. You can do it for sure. It may take you a little time, but it's free, and you're going to develop these relationships. And, I mean, I would assume you get, obviously if you bought 35 houses from wholesalers last year, you got probably 150, 200 leads 35 houses from agents last year. You probably got 150, 200 leads, and that's all for free.
Yeah, I'm in 1 in 10, so when it comes to 1 in 8 when it comes to closing. So I would say that the biggest part with agents is teaching them, is coaching them, because once they understand it, then that's where everything goes really smooth.
They kind of almost work for you. They're little foot soldiers out there.
They go out there and look for houses, and I have several that are sending me stuff every other day that they found that's not their deal, but at least they understand and as far as you said, wholesalers, I passed up on a lot of deals. I am not a big fan of wholesalers, working with wholesalers, just because of, I'm not talking bad because I am a wholesaler, but
they're cheap bastards, that's why.
Or they send out fluff numbers. They'll send out, this house is worth $300,000 and the house next door fully rehab sold for $250,000. It's like, no. But I passed up on a lot of those last year, those relationships, and just picking up those relationships with just a couple of wholesalers. I already have leads that I was just skipping over, sending to other guys, but they keep switching out. We keep rotating guys in and out, so I'm going to stop doing that.
Well, there you go. That's one way to look at it. So DJ, we have, notice I've called everybody multiple names, but you go by DJ, and Dennis, I've called him about 20 different names. So people listening, a majority of people listening are newer investors that have done little to no deals or no deals. So what advice would you give somebody that's like, I want to buy my first deal, wholesale, flip, rental, doesn't matter, in 2024? What are some like big action items or things you would tell them to go do to start to turn that flywheel? Because they're not going to go buy a house by the end of the day if they've never bought one before, probably.
Yeah. One, get in a community of investors wherever you're at. We have the Buyers Club here, community of real estate investors. That's how I found this company. That's how Sam and Lucas probably found this company. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Surround yourself with people. I would say that if I was doing the wholesaling side only and I wasn't trying to build a rental portfolio, I would find the buyers first and go from there. The buyer is where you make your money. So find the buyer, find what they're looking for, and get the deal done.
What is that called?
That is called joint venturing or
reverse wholesaling. Yep, both of those things. So basically, you can get a good deal if you can't sell it. Doesn't really matter. But if you go find a buyer that's like, hey, I'm looking at 63304, anything under 500K, I'll take down. I have a private money lined up. Exactly. Doesn't matter what it leads. You go spend marketing looking there, connect, network there, and that just way you have a baked-in buyer on the back end that could just get the momentum for you, right? Yeah. You're not always going to be able to do that, but I agree that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and all these RIAs that are around, that's exactly where I found when I stopped doing maintenance, I started doing this on my own, and I spent $300 a month in marketing because that's all I could afford. So that's not going to produce that many letters. So I was still doing 3 or 4 deals a month on my own, and that wasn't coming from the letters I was sending out. It was coming from finding wholesalers at one meetup that had a house to sell and going to another meetup and finding the buyer and connecting the dots. So as far as rentals and everything else, man,
tough.
The first one is the hardest one. After that, just kind of snowballs. So
how many rentals do you own now? I don't even know.
I
know you bought a crap ton there for a while. I don't know how much you've been adding.
We keep selling.
Dennis.
Well, when they come vacant, we got to rehab them and sell them. But we're going to start buying again this next month after we get a couple of these houses that are trashed, rehabbed, and sold. So, but I think we're at 27 doors.
I know, pretty damn good. I like it. Dennis, you missed it earlier. I did a little Will Smith rap because
Nice.
Jeff Bezos moving to Miami. Do you know that Miami song by Will Smith?
I do.
Dominican women with cinnamon tans. That's the only thing I can say, but it sounds good.
It's a great song.
It is.
Especially when you're in Miami sitting on the beach.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been to Miami.
Well, you need to go.
It's probably a good thing.
Overrated.
Lucas is going in a couple months.
He
Just
is.
Go with him, man.
He is. No, I'm
Tag
good.
on.
We spent enough time together. Cool. Well, Dennis, anything you want to leave the people with? That was a great segment. I know people got some nuggets out of, strategies or avenues to go down to find properties. Anything you want to leave people with?
Just do it.
Ooh.
Honestly, you just got to do it. It's scary. My first rental, I didn't have any extra money. I was making good money, but I didn't have extra money, and didn't take out enough for the rehab. Didn't line up funding after the fact. All those things line up. I just got to do it. So I was able to line up funding for long-term funding. That's what I meant. I had short-term. But when I first bought it, I literally found out somebody lend me the money and ran a rehab that was totally bad, totally off.
But you did it.
But I did it. And so just get going, and you will figure it out if you have to. So.